am I? I glance around me. My room. I look around cautiously, checking to see if anything in my room is different. The last time I was here was before I was cursed. How is it that this room is the same?
Sleeping Beauty has awoken.
I move to stand up before realizing that my legs are numb.
Shame to see you so easily tamed, Princess. And here I thought you would be fun.
I glance up to look at the man who is now standing right at my bedside. How do you know who I am? Are you a witch?
A witch? Me? Ha! I would rip the witches to shreds if I could.
If he could, then you are cursed? The man simply smirks at me, but says nothing in response. He brushes the words aside with a gesture of his hand. Are you working for Mythros?
Probably.
I glare at his vague answer.
My name is Varg, and I have been assigned to be your personal knight.
Ha ha, very funny. I already have a personal knight.
Oh, you mean Fritz. I got rid of him.
You...
No playing with the Queen's...
Oh gosh, Mithras just suddenly showed up behind a column again. No playing with the Queen's daughter, Varg. Long time no see, you were dead last time. Mythros enters the room. Now he stands in the doorway, eyeing the both of us with a smile that is so oddly reminiscent of his usual one that it makes me sick. Mythros. Princess, you look more and more like your mother every day. Why, the scowl on your face is almost a perfect reflection. He moves to stand in front of me. At the same time, Varg begins to take slow and careful footsteps to the edge of my room. What have you done with everyone? Inconsequential or consequential? What? Mythros clicks his tongue impatiently. Inconsequential or consequential people? I narrow my eyes at him. I have no idea who he defines as inconsequential or consequential. Where are the king and the rest of the family? Where's Fritz? Were you the one who killed Sir Alcaster? Ah, inconsequential and consequential then. To start, your knight is gone, Princess. I've replaced him with Varg here. And Alcaster? Well, we had a common cause at first. We both wanted the crown. Sir Alcaster was also betraying the king? But Alcaster was a brute. He wanted to needlessly kill the royal family and steal the crown for himself. At first I had thought he was calm and calculating. But it turns out that he was just a power-hungry fool. Though I did want to take the crown, I wanted to avoid the bloodshed of certain important people. Mithras smiles at me. It is a look that makes my blood run cold. So I disposed of him and the rest of his knights. Oh, but don't worry, Princess. I assure you that your family is resting in their rooms, just like you are resting in yours. What? Do not worry. You will see them shortly for dinner. I have my doubts about Mithras' story, but if what he said was true, then Sir Alcaster wanted to kill the royal family, and Mythros saved them. But then he decimated the knights and took the royal family hostage? Why would he do such a thing? They're prisoners, then. Prisoners in their own home? Nonsense. We're all just awaiting the Queen's return together. Oh, is she not dead? Can you summon her spirit out of that crystal or something? Her being? The Queen? Slowly I feel pieces beginning to fit together. The Queen? He cannot be talking about Ophelia. Delora, do you think witches are capable of bringing back the dead? Oh man, that was a long time ago. Mother is dead. Is she really? You can bring Mother back from the dead? We can, Princess. We? The Queen has been resting for a long time, waiting for you to gain your power so that you can help her escape her prison. You are not making any sense. I struggle to keep my words from faltering. How is Mother alive? And what does he mean by a prison? The Tenebrarum is the Queen's prison. It is linked to the Queen's power. Though others presume she was dead, the Queen sealed the last of her powers inside the crystal. All she requires is your power, Princess. My power? When you become the next bearer, you will have the ability to release the Queen from her prison. My birthday is in a week. That is when I am meant to take on the responsibilities of becoming the bearer, though Parfait and Delora never went into more detail beyond that. You'll finally get to see your mother again, Princess. I still cannot quite take in everything he has just said. However, if Mithras had approached me before the curse, I would have helped Mother in a heartbeat. But it was Mother who was the last Tenebrarum bearer and the one who brought darkness to Angielle. I once believed that Mother was the only person to ever love me. Now I know that I was wrong, that she shut me in from a world that I should have known. But still, even now I wish she was here. But I cannot afford to be selfish. I cannot put anyone else in danger. I will not help you. You don't have a choice, Princess. I have set the stage for my Queen's return. All that's left is to free her from her cage. We will speak more of this at the dining table. Mythros leaves the room, leaving me briefly with Varg. Bleh. Varg smiles at me beneath his mask, then brings his index finger to the temple of his head and loops it. He mouths the word crazy. What is your deal, dude? You said you would tear witches apart, so why do you serve Mythros?
A good question.
You are not going to answer me.
How perceptive of you, Princess.
He smirks at me before following Mithras out the door. Yeah, I'm gonna get answers from you next time, buddy-o. I am once again left by myself in the room. Everything Mithras just told me swirls through my mind. My mother, alive. And he killed everyone only to take the crown and keep it for her. A shudder runs through my body. She cannot return. I spend the next hour looking around my room for things that might aid my escape. I know where everyone else's rooms are too, but I have no idea how heavily guarded they are, and I doubt I could help them. I must return to the Marchen. I test the window, but it is locked, probably with magic. I search my shelves. The dolls that used to comfort me can do nothing for me now. Last, I check my drawers, but though there are many things in them, there is nothing that looks like it could help me escape. As I am searching, I come across a box and pause to pick it up. Very nice. I remember this. It was given to me by Mother with strict instructions not to open it and always keep the key hidden. I search the drawer again for the key. The moment I begin to set the box down, I see a small golden key at the bottom of the drawer. I pick it up and am about to open the box when I stop. This is hardly a priority right now. I set the key down next to the box. I should be searching for a way to escape. I turn to see Varg's smiling face at the door.
You look like a criminal who's just been caught doing something naughty,
says the criminal himself.
Maybe we're meant for each other.
I narrow my eyes as he approaches. Behind his back, I can make out the open door.
Don't even think about it. You don't want me to pounce you in the hallways, do you? That would be unpleasant.
Varg grabs my wrist. I attempt to struggle free, but he holds tight to me.
I will be your escort to dinner tonight.
Keep my head held high as Varg escorts me from the room. On the way to the dining hall, I glimpse the rest of the palace. It is mostly empty, save for a few soldiers. The soldiers that do stand there have a glazed look in their eyes and look right through me.
Puppets.
A spell cast by Mythros? Varg does not answer me as he pulls me through the hallway. Oh, good grief, where is this going to go? Soon, I find myself in the dining hall. The guards usually standing by the walls are gone. Now there's only the royal family, and they seem to be unharmed.
You?
I can see recognition in the king's eyes. My heart flutters as he stands, or tries to. He manages to rise, but only just barely. I notice that his feet stay firmly planted where they are. Everyone's bodies look exceptionally stiff. Is this some kind of spell? Yeah, you haven't broken your curse quite yet.
You are the girl that was outside my palace months ago. Mythros, what is the meaning of this?
I notice that the king is not at the head of the table as usual. Everyone sits on the table's sides except for Mythros, who's at the far end. The king's seat, however, is clear. I simply brought back the crown princess. You should be thanking me, Gennaro. I have reunited you with your daughter.
My daughter?
The king raises an eyebrow, clearly skeptical. I can see in his eyes that he is loath to trust anything Mythros has to say. You have the same eyes. The king slumps in his chair as Varg leads me to a seat just beside Rod. Rod? I notice Emmeline sitting just to Rod's side. She forces a smile onto her face, but I can see tears gathering in her eyes. Allow me to offer a more formal introduction for our guest, even though you all know her. Her name is Lucette Riella Brighton, and she is the crown princess of Angielle. And your blood daughter, Gennaro. The king looks at me again. This time there is more uncertainty in his gaze. Prince Rod will tell you, won't he?
Rod?
Rod looks at me, his gaze quiet but expectant. I turn to the king and to the rest of my stepfamily. Ooh, should we play dumb? Kinda like that idea. Let's play dumb. I mean, after all, nobody remembers except Rod. And it doesn't look like he's gonna help me out. There is no point in trying to convince the king of my birthright here and now. I would only confuse him more, and now is not the time or place. I glance at Mithros, who is smiling at me expectantly. Besides, Mithros must have a reason for insisting on my birthright right now. Most likely he just means to confuse the king more. If that is the case, I will not play into such a petty scheme. My name is Lucette. Thank you for your kindness that one time. Rod looks shocked. I scowl at him before turning to look at Mythros. Don't look at me like that. Mythros' smile has twisted into a frown. I feel proud in seeing him caught off guard.
Lucette.
Uh-oh, is Rumpel nearby? Did he hear that?
What are you doing here?
Gennaro, she is undoubtedly your daughter. That is why she is in the room that you have been taking care of. What? The king's eyes widen. He looks at a loss for words. Princess, the king has been keeping your room clean and tidy for the sake of nostalgia, and he has no idea why. Magic works in interesting ways, doesn't it? I was wondering why the room was unchanged, but could it be that the king remembers me somehow? I look up at him, but he has already glanced away from me, his expression a complicated twist of confusion and helplessness. It seems that even the king does not fully understand. I turn to Mythros. It can work in both good and bad ways. Ah yes, the Fairytale Curse is terrible, isn't it? I catch Varg's eyes from the side of the room. He glances away from me, and I follow his gaze to the corners of the room. I hadn't noticed them before, but now I see cloaked figures hiding in the shadows. Witches. They must be the ones holding everyone in place as they try to escape. But not all magic is terrible, like the magic we will use to revive the queen.
You are insane. Hildur is mad.
You have no right to refer to her by name. A sudden chill envelops the room. I can feel actual icicles on the table. I pull my hands away. Now, we are going to eat dinner, and we are going to enjoy it. And every day will be just like this until the queen returns. At least we have a week. Rod glares across the table at Mythros.
Why?
Why would we not enjoy dinners together?
That's not what I meant. Why go through this charade day after day?
I stare across the table at Mythros, glaring. I already told you before. I had to clear this place of traitors. Alcaster planned on stealing the crown, and I stole it back. But because the time of the Queen's revival is so close, I have decided to keep the crown with me until I can return it to its appropriate owner.
Hildur is...
Queen Hildur is the true owner of the crown. I thought it best that we all wait out her arrival together. But know this, when my queen demands it, I will kill all of you. I simply refuse to act without her orders. This time, guards come into the room with food. They set it before us, and we are forced to eat beneath Mithras' watchful gaze. Though I try to spot an opening in the dining hall, I can find no way out. This really is a prison. 2 days pass. I have been searching for ways out and trying to ease more answers out of Varg and Mythros. Neither of them is very forthcoming. Big surprise. Both enjoy speaking in riddles. Another big surprise. Varg especially is an enigma. Whenever I try to ask him about Fritz, he smirks at me and remains silent. I wonder why.
What, not going to try asking me any questions tonight?
I am not going to get any answers from Varg, and it is almost my birthday. I need to find a way out of here.
I'm disappointed. You're the only fun I have in here, Princess.
Maybe if I am quiet, he will leave me alone.
If you're just going to be quiet and sulk, I guess I should be going. Remember, don't try anything funny. There are knights just outside your door.
Varg bows mockingly. He leans down to pat me on the head before he turns and leaves. You are a strange fella. I cannot give up. I once again begin my search through the room. Time is running out, and there's nothing that I can do besides search for a way out. But I know that if I leave the room, the knights will catch me immediately. If I had a weapon, I might stand a chance. I put my fingers to my neck and remember what Chevalier told me about it. Sleep? Ah! The sound comes... Oh, it's Delora. Sleep. The sound comes from outside my door. It is a woman's voice. The door opens and suddenly Chevalier and Delora are both in my room. Yay! But Chevalier, what are you doing here? You're gonna get killed.
Princess!
I'm startled to see Chevalier standing before me, his eyebrows drawn over his eyes with great worry. And beside him stands Delora with her arms crossed. Well, aren't you a sight for sore eyes?
We're here to stage a daring rescue.
I rush to Chevalier and wrap my arms around him. He puts a hand on the small of my back and smiles down at me.
We're going to get you out of here, Princess.
How did you both get in here?
With the power of magic.
Dramatic, even at a time like this. The two exchange a look before looking at me seriously. Parfait, Waltz, the knights, and Karma are all here. We thought we'd just be fighting witches, though. We weren't expecting the knights.
No matter what we said, we couldn't get through to them.
They're under a spell. Mythros. He wants to release Mother. Both of them look at me with confusion. What? Mother is still alive, just inside the Tenebrarum. Mythros wants to bring her back. That is impossible.
The Queen is still alive?
Chevalier looks worried, while Delora's expression is more rigid and resolute. We cannot let that happen. I don't know how the Queen would be alive in the first place, but... Well, we'll worry about that later.
Right. We have time later to discuss the specifics of everything, but right now we need to get out of here.
Right. Everyone is keeping the guards and witches busy for you, Princess. I'll distract Mythros. Chevalier, I'm counting on you to get the princess to safety.
That's why I'm here. Princess, can you guide me through the palace?
I cannot just leave everyone here. Don't worry. Garland is seeing to saving your family. No, I cannot just leave everyone in the march in here to do things for me.
Lucette, we cannot afford to lose you. I told you I would do anything to protect you, and I will. The sooner you're safe, the sooner we'll have the advantage.
You are the legitimate heir to the throne and the next Tenebrarum bearer. You cannot let yourself remain in Mithras' hands.
The situation is indeed most dire, so for now we must hurry.
I nod my head feebly. Without another word, the three of us head toward the door. Delora exits first and stops immediately. I almost run into her. I glance through the doorway and see Varg waiting just outside, holding a blade across Delora's neck. Delora holds up her hand and deflects the sword as it slides harmlessly past her neck. Varg slides away, still holding out his sword. His usual smirk is half-hearted at best. Get out of our way.
You're awfully demanding, aren't you?
Pretty please.
No can do, my lady.
Shame. Looks like I'll have to destroy that pretty mask of yours, along with everything else underneath. Please do, so I can see. Delora holds up her hand and summons a wall of electric orbs. With a flick of her wrist, she sends them rushing toward Varg, who dodges with surprising speed. Varg's movements appear sluggish, but I have seen his fast reflexes. He is playing with Delora, even though I do not think he has the advantage. He drops the sword, and for a few moments I feel Delora has the advantage. Then suddenly, he raises the cane he usually holds at his side and taps it on the ground. A burst of smoke escapes from the bottom of it, shrouding the room. That's a pretty fancy cane he's got. An enchanted cane?
You're not the only one with tricks up your sleeve.
Delora! Chevalier, get her out of here!
Let's go, princess.
Chevalier takes my hand in his and begins to lead me away. I turn to glance back at Delora and Varg and realize that while Delora is completely on the offenses, Varg does nothing but dodge. It is as if he is trying to buy time for something. I banish the thought from my head as Chevalier pulls me down the hall. Oh boy, everything's so tense. Yee! My boy's back with his sword. How rude. Haven't you heard of chivalry? Oh. I spot Karma, still in his dress, holding a sword out at the man in front of him. When the man lunges, Karma dodges back and grunts as his back comes to the wall. I suppose chivalry is dead, then. He steps off to the side as the possessed knight attacks him with his blade. The sword catches his dress, but does not hinder him from stepping forward and aiming a jab with his sword beneath the knight's armor. The knight keels, but the sword does not fall from his hand. Karma looks up at us sharply. What are you doing, just standing there? Move! Ugh. It takes me a moment to realize that just as I was frozen, so too was Chevalier. His face is pale as he grabs my hand again and once again starts rushing me down the other end of the hall. Thanks, Karma. Chevalier's steps are wider than mine, and I have to struggle to keep up. But the further we go down the hallway, the more apparent it becomes that there are too many obstacles in the way. We pass Jurian and Garland as we move too, and they manage to clear a path for us. These knights, will they not stop moving until Mithros is defeated? I hope the king and everyone else is safe. As we pass Jurian and Garland, I tell them where the royal family is, but I have no way of knowing if the words reach their ears amidst all of the sound. Chevalier?
So the stab wounds in the armor that I saw earlier were from the knights themselves. But why would they battle each other?
What?
The punctures in the armor that we saw at the clinic. The stab wounds in the gut and at the arms.
Chevalier's eyes are so distant, it is as if he is looking right through me.
We need to keep moving.
I take his hand and lead him forward. I do not know what he is talking about, but we can talk about this later. Right now we have to escape. We are close to the palace entrance when we see them. A group of knights stand in two lines on both sides of the hall facing each other. At the far end of the hallway stands a gaggle of witches, and in between them, Mythros. A gaggle of witches, eh?
Good evening. Did you enjoy your stroll around the palace?
Chevalier immediately moves to stand in front of me. The cloudiness is gone from his eyes. But what leaves his mouth is not a demand, but a question.
How could you do this?
How? It was quite easy, actually.
You know what I mean. Why would you make the knights fight one another?
What a foolish question. Obviously, it is because they are inconsequential. On a stage, some pawns exist as easily replaceable extras. I am interested in keeping only the actors. In the grand scheme of things, the extras aren't needed. In fact, I can make them do whatever I need in order to get the best outcome.
He snaps his fingers and the knights raise their swords. I tense, thinking that the knights are going to turn to us, but they never do.
Here's an interlude for you to enjoy.
The knights are attacking each other? Sheesh. The sound of metal ringing against metal fills the air. The knights' swords arch, dive, and stab. Stab. Arc, dive, and stab. Mithros watches from behind them, the sly smile never leaving his lips. The two of us can only stand there, stunned into silence. It isn't long before we can see red. Lots of red. The smell of blood begins to linger in the air as swords cut through flesh. Abruptly, I snap to my senses. I attempt to move forward, but Chevalier remains firmly grounded. Chevalier!
I heard many things about the doctor working at the clinics. I heard that he was a volunteer who had assisted in helping the injured during the Great War. I also heard that until just recently he had been cursed. I knew immediately upon seeing you that you were that volunteer. I suppose it is unavoidable that you and the princess know each other, but to think you would be so close.
Chevalier just stares blankly ahead. He looks almost like he is under a spell. His eyes are glazed. I continue to call his name. His eyes follow the sword movements of the knights, and he does not even spare me a glance.
Have I unraveled the doctor?
What is happening?